Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to the Introvert Dating Success Show, courtesy of introvertdatingsuccess.com. I'm your host, Harry Wilmington. This is the show, and that is the website where you can learn how to attract women as your authentic, introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Now, for the next couple of shows, there's been a lot of interesting stuff that's been happening in the media lately. Not like news stuff-wise, but I mean in terms of like celebrities and doing certain things that I think are really good lessons and correlations to dating. So one of the ones I wanted to talk about today is in relation to the recent documentary that came out about Michael Jordan. For those of you that live under a rock and don't know who he is, he was a player for the Chicago Bulls in the 80s and 90s, and he was like the guy. To this day, I mean, he still sold Jordan shoes. So if you haven't seen him play basketball, at least you know of his shoes and stuff like that. But that's influential from his basketball days when he was just on top of the basketball world. And in looking at the documentary, when I watch things and go out into the world in general and things happen, I tend to have this eye where I try to correlate what this thing is to what I teach you guys in terms of dating, dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, relationships and stuff like that. And as I was watching the documentary, there was an interesting takeaway from that I noticed that I realized in terms of dealing with women could actually be detrimental to you. And it's a thing that men are just instinctively born to do. And if you're not aware of what this thing is and how it can actually be bad for you to do when it comes to dealing with women, you might not understand why it is you're having problems with them in the first place. So I wanted to go over that today. As always, for more of these shows, introvertdatingsuccess.com, iTunes, find us on YouTube and subscribe. And if you join my Patreon page, you can actually get these shows a week early. Like I recorded this last week. So you could have heard this if you had if you would become a patron. So go to patreon.com/introvertdatingsuccess to become a patron, support the show, and get access to these shows a week before anybody else. Also, if you need anything like one-on-one coaching or you have questions that you want to ask that you want answered on this show, you can go to the website as well. And of course, you can go to the website to check out my eBooks as well as a free training video right now that'll teach you guys the kind of messages you need to send to women when you're doing online dating that'll attract them and actually get them to respond back to you. So check that out. It's free at the website. Okay, so this 10-part docuseries about Michael Jordan was absolutely fascinating. And let me preface this by saying this. I am in no way a sports junkie. Like, I can't say I'm not a fan because I don't watch sports on TV. I'll go to games if I get invited to one, but I'm not one to seek that kind of stuff out. I typically watch like the NBA Finals and Super Bowl. Other than that, I am sports free for most of the entire year. But I do like the humanitarian stories and learning about players in terms of their background, how they got motivated to get into the sport that they're in, and ultimately how they were able to succeed so well. So upon watching this documentary, you might not think there's anything you can gain from this that'll help you in dating, right? But in looking at the documentary, it goes through Michael Jordan's whole journey from when he was trying to join his first basketball team to where he ultimately didn't make it because I guess he didn't really have the fundamentals, and I guess they didn't want to pick him for not being that great. And so there were various times in Michael Jordan's career whereby he would hit a roadblock, and then in order to combat that, he would just like plow through. He would figure out what it is he needed to do, whether it was practice more, whether it was work out more, whether it was interact more with his teammates, whatever he had to do so that he could get to the next level, to go from playing in high school to playing in college, to then being able to go into the NBA. And then even when he joined the Chicago Bulls, like that first year, he still had to prove himself. He had to prove himself not only to his team, but to other players that were older and that were legacy players from other teams, your Jordans, your Larry Birds, et cetera. I mean, it's not Jordans, your Magic Johnsons and your Larry Birds, people like that. But what was interesting is this. He was so motivated to be successful in this field that he overdid what a lot of people would just do average. So if, for example, his teammates are working out 5 hours a day, he's working out like 6 or 7 hours a day. If his teammates are running drills at practice, he's running drills at practice, before practice, after practice. Like, he just had such a willing drive. And what was also interesting was that there would be times on the court whereby, the game might not be going their way, and they might have had a plan of attack against this other team. And all of a sudden now it's not working. And now Jordan's got to come up with ways to be able to make sure that doesn't happen. So, and it's what a lot of guys do. Guys are on the fly fixers. So if we run into a situation that is not giving us a favorable outcome, our first response is automatically to go into our brain and say, okay, I need to think of like 5 other different ways to be able to fix this so I can make this thing happen that I want to happen. And that's what Jordan was very good at, was being able to fix a problem, make it happen so he could ultimately be the guy that won 6 NBA championship rings, which I don't think anybody else has done up to this point. So again, I'm watching this documentary and I am fascinated by his drive, by his ability to have a singular focus, his ability to block out the things. But more importantly, I was impressed by his ability to just be able to want to win at no cost, even if it meant having to come up with different ways to make the things they wanted to make happen. And that's a positive when you are going after a specific work goal or life goal or like a dream of yours that you want to accomplish. And like I said, as men, we have that ingrained in us to like, we're very analytical and we're always looking at things from different angles. And if one thing's not working, we're going to do this other thing because ultimately we can make stuff happen. And as great as that is for our goals and dreams, this same thing can be a detriment to our dating lives. What do I mean by that? I want you to think about this. How many times have you met a girl, you had a good conversation with her, and you were really, really liking her to the point where you were like, I want this girl to be the one that I'm with, girlfriend, wife, whatever. And then you feel your brain start to say, okay, what are the things I need to be doing in order to make this happen? How many times does that happen? Because that's happened to me plenty of times whereby I meet a girl and it's like, oh, I got to do this and whatever. I'll do whatever it takes to get her. And so much in the same way I'd have the drive to go after a certain goal in my work life and my goal life, I would then try to use those same tactics to try to get women. So, for example, a guy might think, okay, well, I need to be doing something in order to get her. So, women like phone calls. So I'm gonna text her, I'm gonna call her all the time, and I'm gonna text her all the time. Because if I'm doing that, then she'll be able to see just how strong my affection is for her, and I'll be able to get her. Or, okay, women, they need to see you all the time. They need to be around you. And the more they're around you, the more they're going to like you. Okay, fine. So I'm going to just set up a date for her every day of the week. So I'm going to ask her out Monday, and then on Monday night's date, I'm going to ask her out for Tuesday, and then on Tuesday night's date, I'm going to ask her out for Wednesday, and I'm going to keep doing that. And if I see her every single day, then I'll constantly be in front of her, and she'll know how much I care for her, and she'll see that drive for me to try to get her, and I'm going to win her over. Or let's say you've been in a relationship for a while and it's starting to go a bit sideways. You know, maybe she's not reaching out as much, or she's like starting to say, oh, I got to work a little bit more, whatever. We can feel that and start to think, oh crap, she's starting to lose interest. I need to do more. I need to call more. I need to ask her what's wrong with her. I need to be able to sit down and want to talk to her more. I need to ask her more about her feelings, but I need to be doing, because that's the only way that I'm going to make this thing work. And what usually happens, guy? You try to overcall, you try to invite her out more, you try to spend more and more time with her. And in the process of doing that, somehow she still ends up losing interest and wants you to go away. So what I'm saying is this, that there's a platform on which our drive and our willingness to succeed really works well. And it's with things that are typically like tangible, but not relating to people. So like I said, job things. That's why men are so great at going up in the corporate ladder. That's why we're such great inventors. And that's why we're great at various jobs that require analytical thinking, because it's like mathematics and numbers and things that we don't, that are tangible. They're not human, so they're not things that we have to interact with, but they allow us to use our brain and come up with solutions to problems. But our problem is we take those same things and the same drive and the same things that it takes to make those things succeed, and we try to project them now onto a person who has emotions and feelings and doesn't operate in the same way that these other various entities do. And the main problem that you may be having right now is that you are actually overdoing to try to impress a girl, whether it's a girl you just met or whether it's a girl you've been with for a while that you're trying to keep interested. You might be doing too much. And again, in looking at this documentary, it finally clicked for me. It's like, oh, our brains are wired to constantly come up with solutions. So if we see something going sideways with the girl that we're dating, our first thought is, I got to think of something to do, because men are doers. Not that women aren't, but like men are really like, are more like the doers, the ones that are trying to go out and make things happen on a regular basis. And so when we try to apply that to our dating lives, that oftentimes doesn't go the way we want it to go. So the hardest part, at least I found for me, but the hardest part that could be happening for you when you're in a relationship is the idea that the most effective way for you to make your relationship a happy one is to sometimes just do nothing. Like, or to scale back the level of things that you are doing. So for example, let's say you've been texting a girl back and forth for like 2 weeks and she starts to slow down. Your initial instinct is to say, I need to text her more. I just have to find out what kind of things to text her that are going to be funny or insightful or make her want to interact. But I need to find more things to talk about and then send her even more text so she'll recognize how much I care for her and she'll text me back. And have you tried that before? If you have, what normally happens when you do that? Do you find that she responds back to you more? Or do you find that somehow it ends up being that you're doing all the reaching out and she's the one that's not responding? Well, it's again that thing of you're overdoing at a time when she's leaning back. You're thinking you got to come at her harder as if it's going to flip around what she's doing. And at least in my personal life, what I have found is that when I did that, the girls usually ended up stopped talking to me altogether. Versus at times when, what if she were to do that and you said, oh, she's leaning back? Okay, maybe I'm being a little too pushy. I need to lean back too. And then you wait a few days and you find, lo and behold, she contacts you. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. Hey, what's going on? Hey, where you been? Are we still going to this thing? What's going on? And it's because you were able to lean back a bit. Now, you might be thinking that makes no sense. Like, how is leaning back going to make my situation better? You got to understand the impression you're giving when you're going at something, when you're going at a woman too hard or you're trying to like be in front of her face all the time. That gives off an air of desperation and neediness. And these are two character traits that women absolutely do not like. And so sometimes what will happen is women start scaling it back a bit because unbeknownst to you, you've actually been doing so much that she's starting to feel like you might be a desperate, needy guy. And once she starts viewing you like that, if you don't start doing things to combat that view by scaling it back a bit, then that's only going to grow worse to where she's going to say, this guy's just too much for me. I don't want to see him anymore. I don't know why. I should like him. He's a great guy. He always wants to be with me. But why is it that despite him wanting to always be with me, I'm not interested in that? So what I'm saying is this: your drive and your ability to think about things and fix things is absolutely great. But you have to know the level at which you should do that for your personal day-to-day life with tangible goals that aren't people, and your relationship life whereby you're dealing with a person who might not need that energy from you all the time. And here's the great thing, okay? Because this is weird too, because it's for us, it can feel like an insult almost. Like, let's say, a girl comes to us with an issue or situation and we want to just go right into it and fix it. And that'd be another problem too. Is like a lot of guys, when they hear girls complain about stuff or whatever, they want to just go in and fix stuff. And I'm actually going to do a whole podcast about that at a later time. But our first step is just, we got to fix it. And, or if we see something go wrong, we got to fix it. And we're not recognizing that, again, that energy is just not always the best thing for us. So, but it can feel like an insult to us because we're thinking like, man, like we're wired to do this. So when the suggestion comes that we should do nothing or lean back, we start to want to fight that. Well, are you saying that, if I see something going down, I can't do nothing about it because that's not what I want to do and that's not going to show her that I care and this is that, whatever. But I have honestly found it is so much less work. It is so much less work in a relationship to realize that you don't have to constantly be there. You don't have to text her all the time or call her all the time or invite her out to see her every single day. And as an introvert, you don't want to see this girl every day. Like, you might like her, but part of you might think that in order to keep that like up, you have to see her every day. But really, you don't want to. And actually, for the purposes of relationship health, she doesn't actually need that. She might say she wants to see you all the time, but there's the need and desire to see you that's going to be more important than actually seeing you all the time. And so if you were able to let that part of yourself go, in terms of having it have to be a thing that you have to be doing and be fixing and be there in front of her constantly, you would find that your dating life will actually get a lot easier. There'll be less stress on you and less anxiety on you to have to think that you have to do all these things. And I will say this, initially, it's going to be hard because, for example, let's say you're used to texting a girl every day. You might, so you're hearing this podcast, watching this show on YouTube, and I'm saying to you, okay, so don't spend like a day where you don't try to call her. Like have one day where you just do not text her. And the first time you try that, you're going to have so much anxiety about it because you're going to be thinking to yourself all day, well, normally I text her by now, but I haven't done it. Oh my gosh, she's probably thinking that I don't like her, or maybe she's going to be talking to another guy now that constantly hit her up because I'm not doing it now. And you're going to have all these thoughts in your head. And you need to fight through that and just let it happen. And after a day, text her and she'll respond. You'll be like, oh, that was easy. She still wants to talk to me. She's not mad or whatever it is, what it is. You know, if she comes to you with a problem, your first thought's going to be, I need to fix this problem. And you need to just one time, let her come to you with a problem that she's having and do everything you can to not solve the problem. But I have 5 solutions ready for her. Yes, but is that going to be beneficial to your relationship in the long run with you trying to do when she's coming to you just wanting to vent? Probably not. So practice these things, because what I found is when I first started, again, it was a lot of anxiety. I'm nervous to do this. What if she hates me, this and that? But the more you do it, and the more you date, you'll start to see that the majority of women would prefer you to be more laid back. And yes, they want you to be successful in the relationship. But in terms of how you're going about it now, in terms of trying to be successful directly with her by trying to do things to her, it's not in your best interest to do that. If anything, if you're going to go hard at studying this stuff. Go to my podcast, go to some other gurus, and really just study up on what works most effectively, what doesn't, and get yourself prepared that way. And then do practice drills at home for this stuff, whether it's saying certain things, whether it's you have female friends you can bounce stuff off of, or even like guy friends that are successful at this that you can bounce stuff off of. But go hard that way, but then be patient and you want to be patient and you want to be calculated in front of her, because you don't want to seem like the guy that doesn't know what he's talking about or is antsy or whatever in front of her. But when you're learning this stuff on your own, that's the time you can do that and ask questions with other people. And that way you can get to a level where you're able to go hard and do what you got to do to be hard and get good at dating. But in terms of being in front of her, you're looking cool, calm, patient, and you're going to look like a guy that has it put together. And that's ultimately what we want. When you're going harder 24/7, you look needy and desperate, and that doesn't look like you have it all together. So you need to keep getting better at dating by way of studying these things. Again, I got podcasts, I got eBooks, I got free video training at the website right now that can help you figure out how to get yourself better centered. So when you present yourself to women, you look like the guy that has it all put together. And even if you're going hard in the background, you're not having that same energy go to her to where she feels like you're overextending yourself and now she's not interested. So hopefully that helps. The Jordan documentary was great, but also Jordan is divorced. Keep in mind, Jordan is also, he has a divorce, and that's not to say anything bad about him, but if he was trying to use that same energy that he had on the court to try to save his marriage, in my eyes, it's not hard to see how that would fail, because ultimately how you handle stuff in your job, work, and goal chasing life and how you deal with women, those two energies are different, and you can't cross swap them and hope you're going to be successful. So that's all I got for today. For more of these, you can go to YouTube, you can go to iTunes, you can also go to patreon.com/introvertdatingsuccess and become a Patreon to support this show. You can also support me by going to the website and clicking on the tip jar tab. We got some links there if you want to support the show in that way. If you want some one-on-one coaching, you can go to the website, click on the coaching tab. If you have a question you want answered on this show, you can go to the website and click on the contact tab and send me a message. And of course, be sure to check out previews of my ebooks at the website, as well as the free video training that'll help you figure out what kind of messages to send to women in order to get them interested online. I'm HarryWilmington, and I will catch you all on the next show. I'm out. Peace.